Hey Daniel, how you doing? Hope you're having a good Canadian day today. You guys been hit by snow yet? You guys seem to have the longest winter around in the world. Starts earlier, finishes later. That's the impression I get anyway. I might be talking bunkum, but it's the impression I get. No snow so far, good. It's coming. My wife seemed to think that we were going to get some here, but so far hasn't materialized, thankfully. So this pipe is Canadian, 9mm Canadian. Speaking of which, Daniel, Canadian. I'd already dedicated this to Latakia, but I've put some vanilla roll cakes in there, and it actually goes. Vanilla and Latakia does go. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like. Whoa. That's one aggressive match. I've been a big proponent of these and supporter and promoter of these matches from the Danish Pipe Shop. And I know a lot of guys on the YTPC who have since bought them. I have to say, the last box or two, they've not been striking as well. And I've had quite a few errant bits of sulfur flying at me. I don't know if there's been a change in the manufacturing process. Hi Daniel. No, I don't smoke Haunted Bookshop. Thank you for offering. Very generous of you, but I don't smoke Haunted Bookshop. I don't like Burleys. How's the trucking going? It is what you're doing now, isn't it, Daniel? It's 6 p.m. now. It's the first pipe I've had since like 9 o'clock this morning. Daniel, that's really kind of you. Thank you. I don't need any samples. I've got too much tobacco. Cigars I'll appreciate, but the samples are not necessary. Thank you. Hey Jason, how you doing? Welcome aboard. We've had many a newbie pass through this channel. I'd be delighted to assist you in any way. Where are you based, Jason, first of all? Which part of the world? it's tasting really good. So I've been smoking Northwoods in this pipe. I first smoked OGS in it, which is what I do with most pipes that I keep now for myself. But it wasn't really working in this. It wasn't really working in this pipe. I moved it over to Latakia and smokes like a dream. But by the same token, it would work with any aromatic, really. Stratford upon Avon, a fellow Brit. Almost in Londinium, not quite. Having trouble with packing. I did a video not long ago. Let me see if I can get a link which runs through the basics of loading your pipe. There are a lot of videos out there that you can look at. Some of them get a little bit technical. I wanted to do one which was just very straightforward and just practical, so you could watch it and see it happening, and that might be helpful for you. Here we are. If you click on that link, you can open it up in another window and watch it later if you like. That's just a video on my take on how to smoke a pipe for beginners. As I say, there's lots of different ways of doing it which people do, but I just kept it as simple as I could in that video. Just a warning that there is a clip which I included from my phone by mistake of some guy getting mugged. And it's nothing harrowing or anything like that, but just be aware that it's tagged in at the end of the video somewhere. Hey Cole, how you doing? That's really the key. Is packing lightly, as Cole says. If you pack too tight, you're always going to struggle. If you pack too light, you can always tamp it down. So pack it as light as possible. Gravity feel your bowl. Just trickle in the tobacco. Just trickle it in until it goes to the top. Tamp it a little bit. Trickle in a little bit more until it goes to the top, and then just give it a very gentle tamp. The classic way of doing it is 3 times. I would say do it 2 times to start with, and then light it and see how you go and take it from there. Hey Hawkeye, how you doing? I started on this block. Just look at the grain on that. It's a very, very nice grain on this pipe. As long as it holds out and doesn't give me any nasty surprises. The bowl dimensions are going to be pretty much like a pot because it's going to be quite shallow. As you can see, it's not going to be the highest pipe in the world, but still, I'm going to make it a 22mm bowl, I think, instead of 20. I usually always do 20mm. And if it's really narrow, I'll go to 18mm, but generally 20mm is my classic size that I do. But I think on this one, I might go to 22. If I get enough, it's a wide enough block. If I get enough of I still want to have really wide walls on this one, because I want it to be like a squash tomato, really. So a cross between that and an author. I just finished this rosebud today. Got an amazing stem, beautiful shape, nice grain. This was a commission. Really nice pipe. I'm very, very happy for the commissioner because that really just worked out absolutely spot on. I've done a few of the rosebuds now. I think that's probably one of the best anyway. I have one myself, which is this one here. Slightly different shape on the shank. Hey Hillbilly, how you doing? Welcome aboard. No, Daniel, if somebody wants it to be a particular weight, I mean, I've had that before, and James actually once commissioned a pipe and he wanted it to be lighter, so I revisited it and made it lighter, and he was happy with it after that. But I wouldn't want to commit to a particular weight. I can give it in a range. You know, if somebody says they want it to be less than 50mm, then yeah, sure. You know, I can weigh it with the stem on, and to be honest, it's hard to do that because when it's on the lathe, you can't take it off and put it back and take it off and put it back. So you have to gauge it. You know, you use your experience and you get an idea. But to say if somebody wants it to be, say, 37 grams, that I couldn't guarantee. The only way I would be able to do that is to make the pipe, have the shape done, and then just keep sanding and sanding and sanding until it got to that weight, which is not the way to go. But you can certainly aim for a region of weight, you know, a ballpark. Measuring you can do, yes. So if somebody says they want a pipe which is 150mm in length in total, from front to back, from tip to toe, then that you can do. No reason why not. So I would measure this bit, and then when I cut the stem, I would cut it so that it finished off at the exact length. I mean, that you can do almost to the millimeter, because sometimes you do have to trim it over here if something doesn't work out right. But generally speaking, you can get pretty close. Hey Todd. And Jason, I will tell you something as well. Don't worry about relighting. People get hung up about the fact that they have to keep relighting their pipe, and then they think, oh, I'm not doing it properly because I have to keep relighting it. Don't worry about it. That will come with time. It will take it'll take you a few months till you really get the hang of packing a pipe, you know, sort of drying it out to the correct humidity. Every tobacco has different humidity, you know, contents, and you'll find your way along. That takes months. The main thing is to enjoy the flavors that you're getting. And if you got to relight a few times, relight a few times. It's no biggie. When you use the tamper, I see a lot of people pushing down. The purpose of the tamper is not to compact the tobacco. The purpose of the tamper, is simply to connect the burning tobacco down to the tobacco that's not burning. That's all it is. So imagine it's literally the top level of ash to a fraction beneath it. That's all you're trying to do. You don't want to compact the whole of the bowl. You literally just let the weight of the tamper even do it. Don't even put any force on it. You just want to literally just connect. And if you do it as you're drawing, it helps. I'm not putting any force on it. Another way of doing it is you can put your hand over the bowl. Don't completely seal it, but almost completely seal it. And what that does is it creates a bit of a vacuum, and as you draw, it pulls the ember down to the rest of the tobacco, and that also helps to relight it. Hey Mark, how you doing? Long time no see. Welcome aboard, Hillbilly. Whereabouts in the world are you? Do I recommend blowing through the pipe every few draws to prevent moisture in the stem? Well, I'd sometimes blow through just to, the same as I do with a cigar, is just to push through the carbon up and out so that it just refreshes the flavor a little bit. It does work on a pipe as well. But in terms of moisture, I don't have that problem because I always smoke with a filter. So I never have that problem. The filter takes care of the moisture. If you're smoking a good pipe, a well-drilled pipe, you shouldn't really have that issue. But you can, if you have a tobacco which is particularly moist, or if it's an aromatic which is particularly sort of, it produces a lot of steam. Tennessee. So the real way to do that is to take a pipe cleaner and just feed it through so that it absorbs it rather than blowing it back in. If you blow it back in, it's just going to come back out. So you don't gain much by doing that. What I do is if I have some moisture, sometimes I have excessive moisture, and even with a filter, I'm still getting a bit of a gurgle. Again, I will cup the pipe like that and just give it a sharp sort of downward motion. And what that does is it gathers it all in. The centrifugal force of that downward motion, it pulls in all the liquid back into the bowl, and it will relieve that for a few minutes. You may have to do it more than once. What briar am I working with? Briar, Italian briar. But briar is, there have been different periods in the last century where people have said the best briar is from this part of the world, and then 10 years later they'll say the best briar is from that part of the world, and it's gone around. It used to be Algerian, then it was Corsican, and all the various different places that has briar, and it's kind of done the rounds. But I've had generally pretty good experience with Mimo briar for the most part. I'm doing a Michael Jackson impersonation, one gloved hand, but that's because I took a chunk out of my hand with a drill bit yesterday. What was I trying to look up? Hey Dorian. What was I about to look up? What were we talking about just now? Oh, right. Mac Baren are doing vanilla loose again. What you mean in bulk? Here in the UK? I pretty much only smoke the roll cake these days. I have a bit of the loose and I have a bit of the flake, not much, but I've been very lucky. I've had a generous pound bag from Jeff from WV, and I had a pound bag from was it from James? Or possibly somebody bought it on my behalf. I forget. It might have been from James. But I've got 2 pound bags. One of them, I'm trying to remember if I've jarred one of them already. It might still be both whole. I might still have 2 full pound bags. I'm not sure. I think I've opened 1 pound bag, and I have another one. It's actually out in the garage at the moment. I have a few tins of the roll cake as well, so I'm okay for the moment. Probably get myself another pound bag just to have in reserve, because I'm fairly, my tastes are fairly contracted these days. You know that by anybody who's watching my output will know that it's really just 2 or 3 tobaccos at the moment. It's OGS more than anything else, and then the roll cake, and then stuff like Northwoods, Erin Moore Flake. Beyond that, it's just dipping into different stuff once in a while, but in terms of regular stuff, it's really just those 3 or 4. Vanilla roll cake is an aromatic from Mac Baren. This is a vanilla roll cake, and it comes in little coin shaped things, little roundels like that, and the way they're made is they're rolled like a cigar. They're about that long when they're rolled. They're about 3 feet long, 2 or 3 feet long, and it's then cut into those little roundels. No, I haven't made a purchase from Absolute Cigars yet. I did have them on my screen the other day, but I've closed it down now. At some point I probably will. At the moment I've got to just try and sell a few more bits and pieces. I'd really like to get that pipe set sold. Got to get some more money in. So I just put the pipe set on my website just now. I kept it off for a few days, offering people to if they wanted to buy it for a deal, but it's on the website now anyway. Well, he gets it over there in Canada, so I must be honest, I'm finding the arrangement with smokingpipes.com to be very handy, especially since you can buy them in packs, singles or packs of 5, 6, or whatever amount you want. I'm waiting on half a dozen Romeo and Juliet Robustos. which should arrive any day. Tim ordered at the same time as me, and he received his a few days ago already. Yes, UK Customs are on the ball at the moment. They certainly are. It's very, very rare for me to get something through that you've bought from a business. Personal stuff comes through most of the time, depending on how it's declared, but this box came through the other day, no problem. A friend in the US ordered me some tools, which, you know, just little tools like that, little files, and they came through okay. But I think if you order a box of 25, Dorian, I think you're asking for trouble. The size, the weight of it is just going to attract attention. It also depends on how they declare it. I mean, that's crucial, really, isn't it? Winston Churchill Davidoffs. My favourite Davidoffs are the Late Hour, which is one of their latest blends, which they brought out a couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Think of everything in terms of pre-pandemic, so pandemic's been with us now for 3 years almost. Crazy. AF, how you doing? Is your name Arturo Fuente? Estate ceramic calabash pipe from British Heart Foundation. I went to look for processing. Do you think I should remove the cake? Simon, have you ever tried Arturo Fuente? Yes, I've had many Arturo Fuente cigars. Now, when you say ceramic, is it ceramic or is it meerschaum? Are you sure it's ceramic? If it's a calabash, it could be a gourd calabash. It could be ceramic, but it's more than likely meerschaum. Definitely ceramic. Well, ceramic, I'm no expert on ceramics, so don't take what I say as gospel. It's not going to be a huge amount of different from meerschaum, but it is different. Meerschaum is a lot softer and more absorbent. Maybe Dorian can help you on that. I'm really not really in any way, shape or form knowledgeable on ceramic, so I will pass on that question. I wouldn't want to mislead you. How thick is the cake on it? Well, my advice to you would be, without having any actual knowledge, but I'm sure you could research it online, but my advice to you would be is take a pipe cleaner and just bend it in half and just swipe it around and clean any debris off. If you think it's got a taste that you don't particularly like, you can dip it in alcohol as well and do that, and see how it goes. Smoke it, clean it out thoroughly and then smoke it. Tenerife 149. You could go to, my wife was trying to get me to agree to go to my brain has gone to sleep. I went there a few years ago with my wife, in the Italian island, which is underwater. Come on. Very nice. Nice. Looking forward to that, Mark. I can't make you a screw tight metal shank, no. metal. I can't make you a screw type stem. It's beyond my skill. I've never tried doing that. I could drill out the screw part on the shank and then fit a stem to it. That I could do. But I'd need to know dimensions and things like that beforehand, because if it's a thin shank, then I wouldn't touch it, because it's just going to crack when you drill it. But it's also not something that I really tend to get involved in. It just takes a lot of time to do things like that when you're doing pipe repairs. Pipe repairs are a particular skill, you know. That's a much it's a completely different skill set. And not completely different, but it is a different skill set, and it has a requirement for different sets of tools than for making pipes. And for me, it would be much too time consuming for it to be worth my while to mess around with. So every so often, you know, people contact me for a repair job. Sometimes I'll do them, sometimes I'll pass them on to repair specialists, and that's what I would recommend, Daniel. You know, my time would be too expensive. It's just not worthwhile for me to make a stem, to have to fiddle around with the existing pipe. You know, it'll cost you, you know, maybe 70, 80, £100 for me to do that, which is just not worth your while. I would, in America, I would send it, or in Canada, I would send it to Bryville. That's what I would do. You just can't lose. These guys are specialists at pipe repairs. They'll do a job much better than I will. You want me to make you a pipe, I'll make you a lovely pipe. But when it comes to repairs, I'll freely admit it's not something that I do a lot of. As I say, depending on what it is, you know, if it's within the similar skills needed to make a pipe to replace a stem, I can do that. I mean, I've done it many times for customers, but it's not something that I advertise, and it's not something that I want to do particularly, because number one, it's not a good use of my time. Number two, the risk of doing damage to the pipe, it's just not worth it. For Dr. Grabo, no, it's not. It's really not worth it, unless it's particularly special to you, or if it smokes really well. But as you say, if you got it in a charity shop or something like that, I wouldn't. I mean, what I would suggest is, maybe if you want to play around with it, maybe that might be worth, is just an enjoyable thing to do. You know, find some drill bits which are very similar size to the existing hole, and just slowly increase the diameter of the drill bits, and just increase the size of the mortise, and see if you've got a stem that you could fit in there. But if you really wanted to get a pipe out of it, I would send it on. That's what I would do. Or if there's any blends that you can smoke without a filter, then just keep it as it is and smoke it. The additional weight it would cost in shipping for you to send it to me is more than the pipe is worth, honestly. So this pipe, it's got a very, very flamey and tight, beautiful straight grain. So I thought that this flame from Eldritch would be a nice cap to put on the shank. And I haven't decided yet on what stem I'm going to use. If you're struggling to keep it alight, sometimes you just need to tap out some of the burnt ash. Maybe you got too much ash in there, and it's just, you know, ash doesn't burn anymore once it's ash. So it can help just to tip out a little bit of it and start again. If pipe wondering, how are you? How are you today? wasting away in your office out there. On this one, it is going to be a slightly bent pipe, so it will have a slightly bent stem. But here, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this or not, but there's a potential to have a very straight line till there and then bend up. A bit similar to a pipe that I made for myself a while back, which might be interesting. We'll see. The grain on this is such that because it's such a straight grain, usually you'll find that you'll have a great ring grain as well. And if I would have a sandblaster, this would produce a beautiful ring grain. Hopefully there won't be any flaws which would require that. I think if there were, it may be a pipe that's worth sending away to somebody to sandblast. Or just setting it aside until I get my sandblasting kit. If you've got an inquiring niggle in your head which is telling you want to try out making pipes, that's the way to go, is to get a kit, see how you go. You can't compare 9mm to 6mm. For me, and I do not understand why Savinelli are so invested in it, because all their new pipes are 6mm pretty much, almost all of them. Okay, they use balsa, so for their balsa filters, I suppose it works. But you cannot compare 6mm carbon filters to 9mm carbon filters. There's just no comparison. I've done a few 6mm pipes. They're okay, but they're just not the same. The only upside of a 6mm is that it means I can make a pipe with a more slender shank. And I suppose with maybe in future if I do a Canadian, it would be worth trying it with that, because this is 9mm, but look how thick it has to be in order to accommodate the 9mm. So you've got the oval shank, but it still has to be quite hefty over here in order to accommodate it. Yeah, you can't compare 9 to 6. 9 is the way to go, especially if you're a new pipe smoker, because 6mm is going to give you a tighter draw, and you're going to struggle with keeping it alight. It's going to upset the balance of the pipe, because usually you can adjust the pack to work together with your filter. So with 9mm, which also restricts the draw a little bit, so you can make your pack lighter in order to compensate. But you have to bear in mind that if you pack it much lighter, the burn is faster, it gets hotter, there's more oxygen getting in there. You get a 6mm, which is even tighter, so you're packing even lighter. You know, you're going to burn really fast, the pipe's going to heat up really fast. So for me, 6mm, it tips the balance a little bit too far away from making it easy to smoke. And the advantages do not outweigh the disadvantages, in my personal opinion. So for me, it's really, I would still make a 6mm if a customer wanted it, but I would say that it's a good compromise for somebody that smokes with and without a filter. So they can literally just take the filter out and smoke it without, because you know, some people make unfiltered pipes with a 4mm or 4.5mm draw, so you're only 1.5mm away. You can just smoke it without a filter, and that's fine. Just pack it a little bit tighter and you're exactly the same. So so for somebody who smokes both, I would say that's possibly a way to go. I can see the logic in that. So if they can smoke regular blends, or their usual go-to blends, without a filter, that's fine. And if there's one or two particular blends which they find too strong or too bitey or something like that, then they whack in a 6mm filter and it should solve that problem. For me, that would be a really good reason to go 6mm, but if what you're looking for is a filtered pipe, then the way to go is 9mm, without doubt. Hey Aardvark, how you doing? What are my thoughts on stingers? I have no thoughts on stingers. I've never smoked a pipe with a stinger. I don't think I have anyway. But pipes that I've seen with stingers, that I've cleaned or refurbished, they're mucky. The tar gets really sort of stuck and builds up on the stinger. And from what I've read and what I've seen, most people, if they had a pipe with a stinger, they just ripped it out and smoked it without. What's a stinger? Good question. So you get some pipes where you take out the stem, and on the end of the stem is a little metal thing like that, which has some holes in it, and what that does is you draw the smoke in through the holes, but it doesn't take the moisture in. That's the theory anyway. The hand's not doing too bad. It seems to be improving. I've been very careful with it not to get it dirty, and I've been using an antiseptic cream regularly and changing the dressing, homemade dressing, and it seems to be healing well. I'm just got to make sure that I keep it clean and don't get it dirty. It's a pretty nasty gouge. If you're into video nasties, I can show it to you. But it's not painful anymore unless I touch it. So generally using it, working, it's not impinging my work at all, thankfully. Yeah, those are very traditional pipes. I don't think they're that expensive to buy. You can buy them here as well. I'm pretty sure I've seen them here online. Well, it's fairly typically Japanese. Everything of theirs is really small. Well, if I would go to a doctor, they may well have put stitches in it. Should we do some work? What do you reckon? Should we just carry on chatting? I'm nearly at the end of the boil. I might as well finish it anyway. I've really been enjoying this bowl of tobacco. Yeah, it's from yesterday. Yeah, pipe wandering, definitely. Please do email me. I always enjoy and relish meeting up with YTPCers when they come here. It's that my pipe club is no longer meeting, so it's very few and far between opportunities that I get to sit with other pipers. Limehouse, that's I think near the East End, isn't it? Parker number 74 has a stinger. Should you take it out? Have you smoked the pipe so far? JJ Fox's I've been to, but not for a while now. It's they no longer we no longer have the meetups there. The Pipe Club of London doesn't meet there anymore. They do have another location where they meet up north, but it's just too far away from me, and it's on Saturdays, so I can't travel there on Saturday anyway. So anyway, Jason, it's really about what you enjoy. There's no hard and fast rule, even if some people might like to tell you that there is a hard, this is how you should smoke your pipe. There is no hard and fast rule. The important thing is that you enjoy it. If you, hey John, if you hadn't smoked a pipe yet, and you were asking me should you take it out, personally I would take it out, but you may well enjoy smoking it. So my gut instinct is to say take it out, because it's going to be more hassle than it's worth. I think personally, I think it's going to impede the draw as well. But just be careful, because some of them are really stuck fast, and you might end up ruining the stem. You could end up cracking the stem. So first, most of them screw out. If it doesn't come out easily, don't force it. Clean it with alcohol. Keep the alcohol away from the wood, from the briar, because that will strip the briar in no time. You can put alcohol on the inside of a pipe, but never on the outside, unless you've got a way of repolishing it. So you just hold the stem, take a pair of pliers, and gently try and turn it. You can apply a bit of force, but if it's not coming, don't force it. Clean it with alcohol as best you can, then let it soak in a bit, or even sit it in a cup with a bit of alcohol in it. And then try again. Let it sit in there for an hour, and then try again. If it still doesn't work, put the stem in the freezer. Put it in the freezer for half an hour. And what that will do is it will cool down the material, and it will contract, which means it might loosen it off. It also makes it maybe a little bit more brittle, so it might just click and come off. So first, as I say, soak it in alcohol. First try it, see if it'll come off relatively easily, but don't put too much pressure on it. If it doesn't come off, soak it in alcohol for half an hour or an hour, and then try again. If it still doesn't, then put it in the freezer and see if that works. And that should do it. My favourite tobacco widely available in the UK? Zero. I guess Vanilla Flake, you can get that. Mac Baren's Vanilla Flake. You can't get the roll cake here. I smoke the roll cake, but if push came to shove, then yes, I guess the Vanilla Flake from Mac Baren. But having said that, 1820 Flake is nice from Germain's if you can get it. There's lots of them, but in terms of my favourites that I smoke on a daily basis, it's really Orlik Golden Sliced, which you used to be able to get here in the UK, but you can't anymore. And it started to slow down, the rest of the world as well. There's been times when it's been out of stock, which is very, very rare. But now, in the last 2-3 months, it's been out of stock a couple of times. Oh my god, it's 50 minutes already and I haven't done a stroke of work. Just shows how much we've been enjoying the chat and a good bowl of tobacco. I hope you guys are all smoking as well. Let's have a bowl call. I don't do that very often. Bowl call. McBaron's Vanilla Roll Flake in an LCS Canadian. Yes, John. It has been work actually because it keeps on going out. There we go, all done. The bottle has come out. St. Bernard's. St. Bern? Do you mean St. Bruno? Ooh, it's getting cold. John is smoking Mordor. ABU Bent Billiard. A what? Oh, one of your own, all dried up. Cool. Good for you. Those are the best, your own. Daniel, smoking quiet nights in your LCS author. Nice one, Daniel. That's what I like to see. Smells like a dog. Jason, yes. St. Bruno. Yeah, interesting. So, do you often buy tobacco from overseas? I used to buy nearly all of my tobacco overseas. I've built up a pretty good cellar, so I don't need to buy stuff here very often. Occasionally I'll get some 1820 flake, some special Atakia flake, rich dark flake, the stuff that's hard to get, so I buy it just so that I'll have a bit of it. But it just so happens that my favorites are overseas tobaccos. It's a bit of a struggle buying stuff overseas now, and I do rely on friends overseas to get tobacco for me, and they've been very helpful. Having said that, I keep saying this, smokingpipes.com, if you buy one tin at a time, it'll get through without any problems. You go to smokingpipes.com, buy one tin of tobacco, and go on the overseas economy shipping, so it's not tracked, but it's cheap. It'll cost you $4 or $5 for a tin, and you might pay $10 or $12 for the tin of tobacco. Okay, some of them are more expensive now, but they're still a lot cheaper than here, and you got literally thousands of tobaccos that you can choose from, and if it's one tin, it gets through. It doesn't get stopped. Usually it doesn't get stopped. I've had very good experience. But it's only when you get a bit greedy and you start ordering 4 tins or 6 tins, then it gets stopped, and then you end up paying the tax. Hey, said OGS and McBaron Vanilla Roll Cake. Yes, nice. And a squat tomato. It's very possible that this is going to become a squat tomato. Oh my brother, I've got 2 of my best ones. A little proud, yeah. I've made many volcanoes I don't want to keep, so having one from you is, oh, nice. Good, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Have I tried a single box of 10 cigars? Well, from them? No. I don't want a box. You know, the box is the first thing which is gonna, it means the box that they have to send it in is gonna be big. I'm not fussy that way. I don't need the box. You know, the only time I used to want to have the box is if it was a Cuban limited edition or a regional edition, then the box for me was important. But I buy 6 or 7 cigars at a time from Smoking Pipes. It comes in a small box. The last time I ordered, I think 6 Romeo and Juliet Robustos. It hasn't come yet, but I think I paid either $3 or $4 for the shipping. And I ordered those Churchills, 6 or 7 of the Churchills, those very big Romeo and Juliets. I got those within about 5 days or 7 days, and yeah, the shipping was just a few dollars. And you're paying like $8 for a cigar, for a good cigar, for a good big cigar. Here, that Cuban cigar of that size, that Churchill that I had, the Romeo and Juliet, it would cost me £80 or £90 here. So it's a tenth of the price. It's mad. It's really madness. Six at a time, yeah, that's what you should do, Dorian. And you could order 5 orders on the same day, and they'll ship them all separately. So you'll still end up with your 25 or however many cigars you want, but you've got every chance of it coming through. And they won't combine the shipping. I was always nervous that they'll just put them together and you end up with a big box anyway, and you get stuck with the customs. And I emailed them and I asked them about that, and they said no, they will never combine orders unless requested. So win-win. So I did go through a time when I was ordering 1 tin of Auric Golden Sliced on a regular basis, but I've had really great help from people, and I've managed to boost up my Auric Golden Sliced, so I'm not doing that at the moment. Although with the last order I ordered 1 tin together with the cigars, and it was only the 50 gram. They'd already sold out of the 100 gram, and I'll be honest with you, I much prefer the 100 grams. The 100 gram tins come with a very long belts, you know, like 1.5 feet long belts of the flakes are that long, whereas if you buy the 50 gram, it's the normal sized flakes, which it might just be my imagination, but I just think that the other ones taste better. But I don't know if it's because it's such a large amount bundled in close together and the flavors are marrying better, maybe. I don't know. It's probably just my imagination, but I prefer the 100 gram tins for sure. Absolutely. I've actually got a pipe which I still haven't put up. I don't know if it's a beautiful pipe, and I still have to put it up on my website. Absolutely gorgeous pipe. I'm probably going to make this a 4-star. It's just lovely, beautiful flame grain and bird's eye on that side. It's got a very glowing quality, this pipe. The contrast is beautiful, the shaping is great, nice stubby thick shank, a beautiful piece of horn, and a nice fancy little saddle bit there, fishtail, and it's just a lovely pipe, really nice pipe. I think subconsciously I'm leaving it in the drawer. Maybe one day I'll fire it up myself, but I actually put a ball coating in this one, so I probably won't fire it up. Originally I thought it was going to be part of the presentation set, so that's why I did the ball coating, but I decided on 2 other pipes. So I need to decide what I'm doing with this. It's right up my alley, that's the problem. It's really just right up my alley, this shape. It reminds me so much of some of the Danish greats that I like to emulate sometimes, that I take inspiration from. It's a beautiful pipe. Really is. Drilling is absolutely bang on. Good tight stem. Everything about this pipe is just on the money. It's one of those pipes which is hard to sell. You know, I get that very often, and you just have to overcome that urge, otherwise you're not putting bread on the table. I might put that up on the website tonight. I'm just trying to get things out. That's I think my only pipe now that's available besides for the set, the presentation set. Alright, I think we should get to some work. Come join me, guys. Anyway, for the uninitiated, my workshop, which I recently moved into, it used to be outside in the garage. I actually just fixed this light today, so I don't know if you've noticed a brighter picture. Just going to turn that light off. So this is my workstation over here, and this is my machines. So that's the big lathe with the various tools up there. Got a bunch of my briar up there, the bandsaw, the big sanding disc, the second lathe which I use as a buffing station, and that's my shaping wheel right there. So let's get on the lathe. Alrighty. Everything clear? Can you see everything well? Alright. Hey Alex, how you doing? Alright Jason, been really nice to get to know you. Hope to see you again soon. Got any problems, feel free to contact me. You can email me if you like. If you need any help with your pipe smoking, lcsbriars@gmail.com. John, I suggest you email me. If you've got a question, ask your question. lcsbrise@gmail.com. No, you can ask it here if you want. Hey Boris, how you doing? The contrasting is really, it's a combination of your stain, how long you leave the stain on, how many coats of stain you do, how many times you remove the stain and restain, and how you how you polish it, sand it. It's all a combination of those things, and that's something you'll develop over time. I don't usually do my staining. I mean, I do the staining itself sometimes on the lives, but the polishing and the achieving that finish, I don't do it on the screen usually. I actually share probably 90% of how to make a pipe regularly on my live streams, but there are 2 or 3 things which I want to remain sort of identifiable as my pipes, which I don't do on live, and that's one of them. So but it's really a combination, as I say, of you know, how much time you spend on that finish, and that's really what it is, and you need to just sort of experiment with that, but the key is getting the stain on, leaving it on to absorb, taking the stain back off, so you're left with just, you know, the stain which is absorbed into the softer grain, restain it, and then you buff. And when you're buffing, obviously that's also something which you will learn over time, using different compounds, using different different mops. You know, mops have different densities, and each one will have a different effect on how you remove stain or how you polish up stain with those mops. So you need to experiment and develop that as you go along. That's really what I would say. You got to spend your time on it, basically. And I say that not wishing to be selfish or anything like that, because, as I say, I share the majority of how to make a pipe regularly. But I just want to, and I hope that doesn't come across as conceited or anything like that, or selfish. But it's important for a pipe maker to have certain signature, sort of identifiable aspects of their pipes, and one of them is how I finish my pipes. I'm not saying that it's anything unique. I'm not saying it's better than anybody else, but I like the way I make it. My customers like the way I finish a pipe, so I kind of want to keep that as the way I make that, as the way I finish the pipe. But you know, as much as I can share, I do share. That's for sure. I share more than virtually every other pipe maker. So there isn't really anybody else who does pipes like this from beginning to end. You know, so I don't feel bad that I'm not sharing that kind of information, because I share most of it. And if you want advice on other other aspects of making a pipe, then by all means you can ask. But there's 2 or 3 parts of the pipe making that I do keep for myself. What you can do, John, is if you want to maybe contact me, we can have a video chat, and maybe show me what you're doing, and I can perhaps, you know, guide you a little bit on how to improve that. If there's anything that I do better, I'd be happy to do that one-to-one. Yeah, and you shouldn't feel bad about that. I remember when I was. I mean, listen. At the end of the day, a lot of my pipe making, I've asked people for advice in the past, and I've had some pipe makers who simply will not share anything at all, and that's their philosophy, and that's absolutely fine. There's some pipe makers out there who have been making pipes for 30, 40 years, developing methods, and then a new pipe maker might come along who's done no homework, has done no developmental sort of work to try and develop their own skills, and they just want to be spoon-fed. I remember speaking to one particular pipe maker who's very, very generous with his knowledge. One or two things he didn't, he wasn't willing to share, but he said that from time to time, he gets people who ask him questions who have been making pipes for 2 minutes, and they just want everything, and he doesn't give them that. If somebody's going to put in the work and do the legwork, do the time, and not just want to be spoon-fed, you'll have no problem helping those people out. But somebody who's just going to come along and make a pipe based on work that they've basically taken from everybody else, the skills, that's. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. If somebody wants to become a carpenter, then the best way to do it is to get as much information as you can. I get that, but when it comes to artisanal stuff, the reason why some people are hesitant is because a lot of it, the tiny little tricks of the trade, are personally developed. They make that, there are some things which are just the way you do things. So if you're making you're making carpentry, you do a dovetail, or you do this, or you do that. Those are standard practices, standard skills, which you can find on YouTube or in a book or wherever. But where you get a little bit of a trick to do a particular thing which saves you time and achieves you a result which you couldn't do before, which is not in a textbook somewhere, and it's not on a video, and somebody has worked that out because they've been doing it for years and developed a way of doing something, why should they share that? That's their life. That's their investment for 20 years that they've put in there. That's given them that little bit of edge. Why shouldn't they have that edge? They've earned it, so I mean, I also subscribe to the idea that some people are scared, that if you're going to give somebody too much information, they'll end up making better pipes than you, and there'll be competition for you. I don't have that problem. Not because I make fantastic pipes, because I didn't have that problem from day one. Because if you're that concerned that somebody who starts later than you is going to make a better pipe than you, then you better up your game. You're not doing a good enough job if you're worried about the next guy. Okay, you can't be better than everybody, but you should be able to make pipes to a standard where you're not really worried about somebody else. And if you help somebody else out and he actually overtakes you, and if you're selling pipes for £100 and he's now selling pipes for £300-400, there's a reason for that, and that's because he's added a dimension to his pipe making which you haven't got. Doesn't mean you're a bad pipe maker, but it just means that he's found a way to make his pipes stand out more than you have. You're sharing your little tips and skills on basic making of a pipe isn't going to actually give him the edge. The edge that guy's going to have, or girl is going to have, is because they're doing something different. They're doing something edgy. They're doing something which puts them on a pedestal above you, and that shouldn't worry you, and it doesn't worry me either. I've seen pipe makers who have started after me and they're making pipes which are selling for more money. I've got no problem with that. I'm really happy with the pipes that I'm making, and I'm slowly progressing, doing more things. I'm always experimenting, always trying new things, and you just have to do that. You've got to work at a pace that works for you and try to be the best pipe maker that you can. But the attitude of worrying that somebody else is going to be a better pipe maker than you, whether you do or don't share with them, they'll be a better pipe maker than you if they are destined, and if they have the skills, and if they put in the time, and if they have a skill set which you don't have, and they happen to be particularly artistic, or they have a knowledge about this field or that field. It's been really interesting to watch Giuliano start making pipes, and because he was a jeweler, or is a jeweler, so you see him focusing on certain areas, of jewelry making. So his bands will be engraved beautifully and all of that kind of thing. That gives him an edge. You know, being a jeweler won't necessarily make him a better pipe maker. That will take time. You know, everybody develops as they make pipes, but he will have an edge because he can do stuff with jewelry that most other pipe makers can't. You know, so me not sharing something with him is not going to change that. Yeah, muscle memory is certainly a very, very important thing, which people also don't realize is it takes time. Much as it takes time to learn how to smoke a pipe, it takes time to just, you know, to develop the knowledge that when I do this, this is going to happen. Or if I do this particular stroke on the sanding wheel, that shaping is going to happen. You know, if you want to get out all the ridges and things like that, you do it this way or that way. That takes time. That's muscle memory. I agree with you entirely on that. Absolutely, Hillbilly. The knife making business is very similar, very similar to pipe making, and I'm glad that that made sense to you. You know, you can't expect a free ride. You know, people who, which, okay, at the end of the day, people who are more open with their knowledge, it obviously makes you appreciate it even more. But you can't expect it, you know, and don't get upset if people don't give you all the tricks of the trade that they've learnt over the last 20 years. Scared I'm going to crack this. Alright, let's try something new. I am risking cracking this, but I think it's worth the shot because it'll give a really nice finish, which I'm trying to achieve, is to have the band just that give you that little bit of glint when you take the stem off. It's just something different, really. Wish me luck. That'll do, I think. Not sure if I've gone deep enough. Nice. See if this works. Not sure if it will or not. It's worth a try. hell? Hey Philip, how you doing? I think we're getting somewhere. Is that your chest giving you grief still? Still trouble breathing? I assume you've had all the standard stuff checked, the heart and blood pressure and all of that stuff. Is it a chronic problem or is it something new? I mean, you don't have to talk about that here if you don't want. Did you have that problem before the flu? Shortness of breath, that kind of thing? Well, I suppose the flu or something could have exacerbated that. Seems quite logical. There's even more obstruction there than usual. I'm not happy with this. Right. Give it a go. Yeah, that's always the problem, is the resulting muscle pain, rib pain, stomach pain from straining all the muscles. I wish you well, my friend. I mean, I'm not a big proponent of painkillers, but in this kind of situation, it's what you need, at least for the pain. The breathlessness, I guess you gotta ride it out, but do they give you an oxygen mask or anything like that to take? You know yourself better than anybody else, so I wish you a speedy recovery. Don't remember ever working this long on a Godette. My battery about to go. Alright, I need to plug in somewhere. Alright folks, there's 1% battery life, so it's going to conk out. I've plugged it in, but it's going to conk out. So I'm going to say thanks everybody. Really appreciate you joining me. Really enjoyed it. I haven't really been on live that much lately, so it's been good. Thanks again for joining. Have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you on the very next one. Phil, wish you better, speedy recovery, and if you want to chat, by all means drop me a message and we can have a video chat. Cheers guys.